What's up, everybody? We're back.
What's going on? It's good to be back.
Yep. So, last week we talked about we were going to read and discuss Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. And we kind of gave an introduction last week, who he was, what the book was, all that. We read the introduction of the book. And then this week we read the first chapter, which was Rule 1. And Rule 1 is stand up straight with your shoulders back.
Sounds easy enough.
Sure. Yeah. Yep. So, I think this, he talks about in this one a lot, like, order and chaos, kind of like he does in the introduction to it. And I think this is I think this was the first rule probably intentionally.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're trying to do, is transform the chaos of your life into order.
Mm-hmm.
And the premise of this one is presenting yourself in a certain way so that people will see you in a certain way and react to you in a certain way. So It's all about feedback loops, and, as you do negative things and people react negatively to you, it kind of snowballs into you do something, people react negatively, makes you feel worse, you continue to act like that or worse, then people react negatively.
It's a cycle. I mean, and it goes both ways.
Yeah. And so this whole premise, and this is probably why, if you've seen anything about Jordan Peterson online, you've probably seen people Photoshop his head onto a lobster, or riding a lobster, or those kind of things. And the first thing that he uses as an illustration is lobsters, and like the hierarchy of how they live and survive and all this. And so he goes into their biology and how they've been around, I think he says in here, longer than trees, doesn't he?
I think so.
Yeah.
Definitely much longer than the dinosaurs. Like there's 350 million years.
Yeah.
Lobsters have been around.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Yeah, and apparently their neurochemistry is similar to ours.
Right.
And so he talks about dopamine and serotonin, and the balance between the two affects how the lobster operates. And so he talks a lot about hierarchies and, how...
it's a dominance hierarchy.
Yeah, that's right.
And so what was some of the things in there he was saying about it was like if they when they're fighting over territory, there's like a few different steps that happen, right? So like they square off, but it's more of just a show of who's bigger, and then if one goes away, great, it's over with.
Yeah.
And it kind of escalates and to the point where there might actually be a fight that happens. But anyways, the winner and loser creates those feedback loops like you were talking about. So it's hard to come back from a big loss, and it's spurs you even further in life when you have a big win. Basically, it's the Pareto principle.
Yeah, he talks about that in there. He said it's called different things: Price's law, the Pareto distribution. And some people call it the Matthew principle. To those who have much, more will be given. To those who have nothing, even what they have will be taken away.
Right.
Is a verse out of Matthew. But
it's rough.
Yeah. It's brutal. Yeah. But, I mean, so with the whole lobster thing, he's like, this happens in other species too. Wolves, primates, they do the same thing. So when those lobsters, they dance around trying to figure out which one's the best. If it escalates to where it's actually a fight, they'll try to flip each other over.
That's right.
Usually that'll take care of it, but if it doesn't, then they'll go to actually combat and trying to tear
ripping off eyes and
parts of the other lobster off, and so I obviously the winner is the one that is going to get all the preferable places to nest. It's going to get the women, all of those type things. So what he says basically is their brain chemistry, like it's hard for a once victorious lobster to deal with not being that way anymore.
Right.
So he said, and I don't know enough about it, but he says that their brain basically dissolves and forms a new one.
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if he means that literally.
Right. Like, or is it like just a...
Yeah.
That is very... I'm going to have to look into that more because that seems insane. How could your brain...
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it does, though.
But he... but so if you have a high amount of serotonin, then, the victor, its brain will start producing a higher amount of serotonin as opposed to the octopamine. And so what will happen is, it realizes it won, it's dominant, so it creates more confidence.
Right.
And then even its body language is enough to make a lot of other lobsters just leave it alone.
Just fuck off. Yeah.
Yeah. And then conversely, the loser, its brain changes to where it produces more octopamine, less serotonin. It's more hunched over. It's more, it skulks around and is more likely to run off.
Right. It's hard to come back from it.
Yeah. And he was saying, this is a necessary part of evolution because it's essentially the chemicals in your brain trying to keep you alive, right? Because if you're walking around like that, just in people, if you're a, tiny little guy walking around talking shit to people and you get the shit kicked out of you, you could die doing that. Yeah. So it kind of works itself out that way. And, conversely, if you have more serotonin, you don't need to be as stressed and ready to run away.
And it's crazy.
Yeah.
Because it is so similar to us.
Yeah.
It's, and I think he mentions in there that you can give them
SSRIs, the antidepressants, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And it will have even somebody that was just defeated, once you give them that, they're going to have more of their
pick
posture
themselves
will be
back
better.
up.
Yeah. And they'll,
it's very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the main point was, I don't know, it seems to almost be like even a little bit of a fake it till you make it kind of thing. So like, even if you, at one point in your life, if you were abused, bullied, picked on, whatever it is, and you've developed this, poor posture, and people, if your shoulders are slumped, you don't look people in the eye when you talk to them, you don't present an air of...
Right. Of confidence. You look weak, therefore you're going to get... He talked about that in the when he was talking about the bullying.
Yeah.
He was talking about how a lot of bullying is because it's just... You're presenting yourself as being weak, and people are assholes, basically.
Yeah. and they perceive that even if they can't vocalize it, right?
Right. Yeah. So, like you said, it's the fake it till you make it situation where you don't slunch over, don't look at the ground, don't
sure,
show yourself as being something, and most of the time people will just fucking leave you alone.
Oh yeah,
but the whole first part of that is it's very hard to get out of that once you've been beaten down. Yeah. Right? Like how do you flip it back? When if from the point of your childhood you've had people just beating you into the ground in different ways, it's going to be hard to. But that's what he's saying is like, it's hard. Yeah. But if you'll just start standing up straight,
Oh, sure, yeah.
You can at least
look like you.
And that's the thing he said too, is that things change. Yeah. It's not your childhood. It's not the things that have happened in the past. And I don't know. I like it though. That's, you don't think about that stuff.
No.
Because shit. No matter what it is, man. Like we all have like our fears with things that we have to do. It's life, right? Like things are difficult, but I don't know. You just you gotta fucking act like you know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, man. Like that's. I mean, you know, even if you think back to like when you were in high school or around that age, and you know you had a bunch of kids thrown together that were trying to figure stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
Like it didn't matter that nobody knew. Nobody had any clue what the fuck was going on in life or what they were doing, but there was always one guy in the front going, yeah, follow me. I got it. I got this. Yep. And like that tended to be the more popular one because they
just acted and so people follow that. Like it's because we all don't know what the fuck is going on. Like that's basically what it boils down to.
Yeah.
You know, it's fucking scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And anyway, he was, like you know, I think that in conjunction with developing good habits, like he talks about in there, you know, with some people that he had treated clinically, if they were depressed, he would tell them to eat a high protein breakfast first thing in the morning, no complex carbohydrates. And
wake up at the same time every day.
Yeah, developing good habits, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably, you know, very spot on. Like if you know, if you've got bad habits that lead you to be unhealthy, you know, unwell, it's just going to spiral.
Yeah.
But by the other token, if you get up, you know, get up in the morning, work out, eat something that's not just a donut, you know, and go about doing that, it's gonna naturally build confidence and competency.
Right.
You know,
these things compound whichever direction you go. Yeah. You know, it's going to get better if you start making the right choices. Yeah. And it'll continue to, you know, or it gets worse. Yeah. If you go the other way. And it's very fucking simple, but like it's not something that people think about. You know, it's
And to me, I think it's the stuff that he says in there about like there's like a heading under this talking about lobsters that they get all the girls or whatever. Mm-hmm. He's like, you know, and I think this is, I don't know, when I say evolution, I don't mean coming from, you know, I don't know where I land on all that. Right. I think it's probably bullshit that we evolved from bacteria. Yeah. But I don't know enough about it to say it one way or the other. But I definitely think I guess it would be microevolution where we adapt to different things. Mm-hmm.
That's definitely proven, I would say. I mean, there's evidence of that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then also there's some kind of instinctual thing in us that wants to some kind of thing in our DNA that wants to I guess pass our DNA along or whatever. And for women, they want a man that they find to be, you know, competent. They want the best man they can to, you know, father their children or whatever. And so that's almost ingrained in them. And
it's at a root level too. You can't get around it. It's just what people do without thinking.
And I think a lot of it is holdover from, you know, a long time ago when, well, we're in a different part of the world, you know, being in America, it's easy to say this, but like when things were more dangerous, you know,
you need someone that can actually protect you, someone that can survive to tomorrow. You know, it was forced in that sense. Like it just makes sense to go after someone who's been successful.
And so I think that's why women, I think women basically gravitate or are attracted to one of three features. Maybe all three, but, you know, if a man's not, you know, no, I don't think any woman likes just a fat guy. They want him to be in shape. I think that muscular build that all women tend to prefer is probably because it's something in them that's I need to be protected. Right. This guy can protect me. Right. By the same token, a guy with a lot of money, you know, money buys a lot of protection.
Sure, exactly. Right? Yep.
And then also, you know, fame and, you know, power too, because that also is a thing. So, the most attractive male, I would think, is the famous, attractive, wealthy male, right? Yeah. And that's why celebrities,
are worshipped. Yeah, and it goes back to your lobster brain.
Yeah.
It's 350 million years of...
Yeah. That's why freaking, these guys, Brad Pitt could sleep with 80% of the women in the country if he wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
he should. He's fucking gorgeous.
yeah. Hey, you ever seen Troy?
Yeah.
That dude. He was a Greek god. But yeah, and I think like any combination of that, and that's why you see, you may have somebody that's dirt poor but is just a physical specimen. Mm-hmm. They don't have trouble getting women.
No.
The same thing with somebody that may not be attractive, but they have money,
Right.
They don't.
And that's the thing too, though, that something has to give them confidence, right? And the confidence then turns into more of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe the money gives him the confidence, and then therefore he approaches, and then he
Yeah.
It just... Because, I mean, it's not so much just looks. Like, you can't... If you're some guy that looks good, but you're so awkward that you can't have a conversation, because then it ain't gonna fucking work. Like, they're gonna turn the other direction, go somewhere else.
But like you said, it snowballs. Like, how many guys have you known that are like that?
Who are like
ripped up,
right,
muscular, whatever. Usually it seems like just being that is enough that people respond well enough to you
positively.
That you learn how to do it,
Yeah. You're not going to have as many rejections, therefore your confidence will build, and
you
become an asshole.
Yeah. It's weird because I look back on my life, I think about it. I was homeschooled until I was in 7th grade. Didn't know anything about anything, really. I get thrown into public school at 8th, and I say thrown in. I begged my parents to go. So, it's not, they didn't. I get thrown into public school at 7th grade, and, I was a little Christian kid. I didn't cuss. Mm-hmm. I was waiting to have sex till I got married. I wasn't going to drink or do anything, and I was awkward because I had limited socialization at that point, and got the shit kicked out of me for like 2 years until I figured out, I don't know, I guess just the analytical part of me figured out how to do it. You know? And even then, even at our school, it wasn't as much. I found friends that were not really there. I had friends at our school or whatever, but it was, and so I think that gave me more confidence. And then when I was in the band, that was not really successful, but we would play shows occasionally that would have 300 to 500 people there to see us.
Right,
and so
that's a confidence boost right there.
Sure, yeah. And I always I've told the story before, I think to you, Daniel, where, and this was a complete fluke and ridiculous that it even happened, but there was this girl that I had started to date, and I was on my second date with her at a Mexican restaurant, and it was her, me, and then their two friends, and this girl comes up and asks me for my autograph at the table. I'm fucking right.
Oh, yeah. It's I fucking made it.
That just worked.
Yeah.
But
you can't ask for a better situation.
No. And he just sure, I'll sign it. I told them not to come up to me in public like this. No, but with that, and then just, even though we weren't successful really, it was still at our hometown, we would go on tours, and play shows every night for a month or whatever and come back. And so it created I think that gave me a confidence boost.
Right. Yeah.
And then I think that everything went well from there up to where I got really involved back in my church, and then a lot of fucked up stuff happened at that church, and I think that just killed it for
for a little while.
Yeah. But
then this book came along.
Yeah, well, I read this book a long time ago. But yeah, it's just weird to see that and just see that is, it's there.
It's there. It's a part.
Observable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, let me see what else. What did I underline in this thing? They said about the women, like he says, and I don't know where this is because I didn't underline it. Or it may be right here. Oh, so on page 9, under the All the Girls tab, it says the female lobsters, who also fight hard for territory during this explicitly maternal stages of their existence, identify the top guy quickly and become irresistibly attracted to him. This is brilliant strategy in my estimation. It's also one used by females of many different species, including humans. Instead of undertaking the computationally difficult task of identifying the best man, the females outsource the problem to the machine-like calculations of the dominance hierarchy. They let the males fight it out and peel their paramours from the top. This is very much what happens with stock market pricing, where the value of any particular enterprise is determined through the competition of all. And so, I mean, that's obviously what happened. It's funny that, you know, we're all operating in this, and most of us have no idea that we're operating in it. Right? And we're behaving in a way to do it, though.
He does say that we're all keeping track of our position in this hierarchy, whether you really know it or not. Like, you know where you stand.
Sure, yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, you don't...
Yeah.
You don't think about it until someone tells you, and then you're like, well, yeah.
Yeah. I don't... It is odd, though, like, with, you know, different people that you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. I think as far as, like, non-celebrity people, we have this friend, John.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
He's been on here before. And I would say he's near the top of this locally.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't think he knows it, though. Like,
I'm going to tell him tomorrow.
John, we were discussing it. You're at the top of this thing. You start acting like
it. Do you know where you're at?
Yeah. So do you think people like that, and I mean, obviously everyone's different. Do you think that he really knows and, like...
He's trying to be humble?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
It seems like it. But then by the other token, like, I can't remember. We were talking about this at work, but there was somebody that we were talking about that was really arrogant, and we couldn't figure out why he was arrogant. Like, he's not attractive. He doesn't have money. He just is kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Do you think he knows that he's at the bottom, too, and he's just trying to...
He's just trying to fake it till he makes it?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you can't do it so that everyone knows you're faking it.
Yeah. Well, and also, I think it's that part about not being, like, he one of the things I said was he was a dick. He's a dick.
Yeah.
And, like, so they say in this, like, even if you're at the top, like, nobody makes it on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, because if you're a primate and, you know, there's one very aggressive big gorilla or whatever, he can easily be taken
down by two mediocre ones.
Yeah. So, like, he's like, you know, primates and more advanced species, like, the ones that last a long time at the top are not only dominant,
but they're also not dictators either.
Yeah. They also know they need, like, hunting partners, so they still have good relationships with some of the other men, and then they're careful to watch after the women and children, you know, so nobody tries to overthrow them or whatever.
Right.
Which he says the ploy of the strategy of baby kissing in politics has been around forever. And I wonder if that's what that is. Like, because you always see, like, think about the politician that, like, talks kids, kisses the babies or whatever. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's, like, a subliminal thing they realize, like, okay, if these women see me being, like, protective towards
and
a kid,
nurturing,
they'll vote for me because they think I'll protect them?
It's gotta be.
Yeah. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
It's not new. It's man.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I can't remember how exactly. I think he's talking about, like, nature and whether it's, like, static or it changes or whatever, but there's a quote on page 12 said Mark Twain once said, "It's not what we don't know that gets us into trouble. It's what we know for sure that just ain't so." And that's such a good freaking quote because it's right.
Man. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It's dangerous as fuck.
Yeah.
You know?
Because if you're confident about something and you're acting on that confidence, then if it's not true, you're going to do things that, if you don't know something, if you're unsure about something, you're not going to go into it like headstrong. Right. I'm going to do this. But if you think something's true,
and you know it in your own head to be 100%, you will do crazy things.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It's rough.
So, what else do we see in this? Yeah, he says on page 14, this dominant hierarchies are older than trees. Like, that's nuts.
It's, I don't know. You can't get rid of them.
Yeah.
But it seems like there are people out there that want to ignore the fact that they exist.
Yeah.
Because there are people at the top, people at the bottom.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. It doesn't mean that the people at the bottom can't churn up to the top. That's the lie.
Yeah. Yeah, and he says in here at one point, he's like, the dominance hierarchy is not communism. It's not capitalism either. And that's probably one of the things that I disagree with about this. Like, it seems like it absolutely is capitalism. Or at least maybe is adjacent to it, because it's not, capitalism and anarchy, to me, in my head, it's not really just like a political viewpoint or whatever. It's it's recognizing reality.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
that's
it just
what it is. Yeah.
What it is.
Yes. That's how our nature is. If we're communism and having everyone equal is never going to work because we're not equal. And it doesn't matter how much we lie to each other or ourselves. Like, it's not that. And
the ones selling that are the ones that are being the capitalists at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Still, the Pareto principle still falls into place.
Mm-hmm.
So it. I guess the question is there consequences for how you get to the top if capitalism is reality? And can you get to the top without being immoral?
To the top?
Probably not.
I think, probably.
Because the people at the top aren't playing a moral game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's weird because there's so many different facets to it, right? Because, like, I don't know. Are we talking about, like, money and power? Because...
Yeah, because, I mean, there are many tops of different hierarchies that still...
Yeah.
Still fall in this same...
Yeah.
Category, I think.
Because Elon Musk is now the richest person in the world. But he's certainly not the most powerful. The SEC has investigated him for tweeting. Like, I think if that guy steps out too much, they may... they can definitely handle him. But if you're just looking at it from a different, like, I don't know. I guess I don't know who the best basketball player is right now, but just let's say LeBron James right now is the best active basketball player.
Okay.
Like, he is celebrity-wise and all that, he is much more, I don't know, recognizable. Like, I think it would be easier for him to sleep with a woman than Elon Musk, right? Because he's rich enough that it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter,
Yeah. And he's also got fame. And he's also probably better looking, I would assume.
Right.
And so, I don't know. There's just all these different ones. Like, I don't know how you would quantify who the top person is, because there are different tops of different things,
I agree, yeah, because there's so many different hierarchies and different different tops, to
Yeah.
different goals.
Yeah.
But when you talk about capitalism,
Mm.
just in a business sense,
Yeah.
can you get to the top without being immoral?
Yeah, well, okay, so I'm sorry, you asked that question. That's what made me think of that. So I think LeBron James can get there without being immoral because so much of it is just skill, right?
Okay, yeah.
Like it doesn't matter he could be a piece of shit. He could be the most straight edge person that's never going to screw anybody, and his skills at basketball
Will get him where he is.
will get him where he is. I don't think Bill Gates can get where Bill Gates is without being immoral. Probably.
Yeah. That's that's like, I mean, I'm for capitalism,
Yeah.
but it seems like it's going to produce the ones at the top. Capitalism is going to produce immoral people at the top because because of this stuff, like because of what we're reading, the more you gain,
Yeah.
the easier it is to continue to gain.
Yeah.
And then you're in positions where you can get away with things. Now, I think there are going to be consequences for that.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know where I was going with that. Sorry.
No.
It's just a thought.
Yeah, I don't know.
Everybody, you hear a lot of people are for capitalism, and I am too.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's not without its faults.
Oh yeah, it's not utopia.
Right.
Like there's going to be, but I think it's the most moral thing. I think it's
if the game isn't rigged.
Yeah, but then it's not capitalism. Like I don't think we have capitalism in this country. We have some kind of. We're socialists. Like our value has taken from us in taxes and inflation and all this stuff. Like it's a completely rigged system. I don't think this has been capitalism for a long time. It's some hybrid between that and socialism.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
But yeah, I do think it does make, moral people at the top, because I think to get to the top, you probably have some kind of sick competitive drive. Mm-hmm. And somebody like Michael Jordan, like he got that out on the basketball court, right?
Right.
But
if he had been in business, he would have been stepping on some heads.
Yeah, because I look at people like Bill Gates, I'm like, why the fuck are you still trying to acquire businesses? And like you're old, you got kids, I'm sure you got grandkids, all this stuff. What do you have to prove?
Yeah, he is Gavin Belson.
Yeah.
Of Silicon Valley. He is that fucking character.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason for you to keep fucking with people and trying to do shit. Like, you're done. You did it. You made it. Go sit on a beach somewhere and drink drinks and enjoy the rest of your fucking life. But they can't.
Yeah.
They can't because it's...
Because that's what they want. They want to do that.
Yeah, and they I don't know. It's, I guess when you're that big, the only thing to keep doing is just grow. If you're not growing, then you're losing.
Yeah.
And it's like, you fucking made it. Like, just enjoy what you have.
See, but even I think Michael Jordan has that. Like, if you look at it, he seems miserable, right? Yeah. Like, he seems like, because he doesn't have that thing to compete at anymore. Mm-hmm. He has this drive to be the best and to compete, but he's too old.
Right.
Like, he can't do that with basketball. He can't do it. And
he's not good enough at anything else to be.
I guess not. I don't know. I don't know enough about him personally, but he seems drunk most of the time. Mm-hmm. And, yeah. And just miserable. But, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yep, I had marked down the thing you said about anxiety, depression, what he tells his clients to do, or his patients, or whatever. Yeah. I thought he had an interesting point, like when he's talking around page 24. Here, I'll just read this paragraph.
Okay.
No one, page 24, the last full paragraph on the page says, "No one likes to be pushed around, but people often put up with it for too long. So I get them to see their resentment first as anger, and then as an indication that something needs to be said, if not done, not least because honesty demands it. Then I get them to see such actions as part of the force that holds tyranny at bay, at the social level as much as the individual. Many bureaucracies have petty authoritarians within them, generating unnecessary rules and procedures simply to express and cement power. Such people produce powerful undercurrents of resentment around them which, if expressed, would limit their expression of pathological power. It is in this manner that the willingness of the individual to stand up for him or herself protects everyone from the corruption of society. Yeah, so I guess what he's saying is, I don't think it's good on the individual level. Like, if you just let somebody just give you shit,
right,
and you don't say anything back, you become resentful, and you're not, you're hateful. Like, that kind of stuff isn't good.
Mm-hmm.
Bitter. And then if you let someone do that for long enough, like, this is what keeps people from, just thinking they can do what they want, is average people stand up and be like, no, you're not going to do that to
right
me. Yeah,
it's the only way to stop the tyranny is what he's saying.
yeah is for average people to be like, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
So I thought that was
it's important.
Yep. And then on page 25, he says, let's see, it's the last full paragraph on that. Towards the bottom of it, he says, well, I'll just read the whole thing. He says, when the awakening occurs, when once naive people recognize in themselves the seeds of evil and monstrosity and see themselves as dangerous, at least potentially, their fear decreases. They develop more self-respect. Then perhaps they begin to resist oppression. They see that they have the ability to withstand because they are terrible too. They see they can and must stand up because they begin to understand how genuinely monstrous they will become otherwise. Feeding on their resentment, transforming it into the most destructive of wishes. To say it again, there is very little difference between the capacity for mayhem and destruction, integrated, and strength of character. This is one of the most difficult lessons of life.
It's pretty intense.
Yeah. And it is funny, like, too, I wrote this out next to it. Weakness often masquerades as... flip this around, as morality. Like, it's funny because, I mean, we all know people that you're like, oh man, that guy's such a, nice guy. He's such a good guy. Mm-hmm. And, I'm sure there are people that are dangerous that are nice,
Right.
But just because you're nice, or just because you, maybe you just haven't had the opportunity to do anything other than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It does seem to coexist with weakness, like and then I've been around people who have been so nice that I've felt like they were doing it to deceive me, so that they appeared weak, so that I would let my guard down. You see what I'm saying? Like it is interesting that it kind of I don't know, but
So like on page 27, he says, the first full paragraph on there, to stand up straight with the shoulders back is to accept the terrible responsibility of life with the eyes wide open. It means deciding to voluntarily transform the chaos of potential into the realities of habitable order. It means adopting the burden of self-conscious vulnerability and accepting the end of the unconscious paradise of childhood where finitude and morality are only dimly comprehended. It means willingly undertaking the sacrifices necessary to generate a productive and meaningful reality. I think he's saying there, like, when you stand up straight, you're adopting a posture of, I'm going to face this,
regardless. I'm not going
to...
sulk and droop my shoulders and
Yeah.
come at it in a weak manner. It's you have to stand up. You have to face it. It's
Yeah.
I don't know. Life is suffering. You've got to do something about it.
Yeah. And it's going to happen anyway. You might as well, because he says in here somewhere, I don't remember where it was. He said like your brain reacts differently when you voluntarily confront a problem, as opposed to when you wait and then the problem is forced upon you or whatever.
Yeah, I think it said something about too where it would, if you were to, they were asked to frown, but slowly, and in doing so, you become more angry or sad, and then when you're asked to smile, your brain you just become more happy. So your posture means a lot. When it comes to just dealing with shit, and it puts off a certain thing that people respond to. Especially when people don't know you. That's the thing. People get so beaten down by their past or whatever that this is a new, these are new people. They don't know your past. So put off a posture and they will respond to it. Accordingly,
because you're not. He says that in there, like it doesn't even make sense sometimes that we still act like this. If you've moved from one place or another, you're not a job to another job. You're not in the same place. There's no reason to, other than you've been chemically programmed to do it. But like, there's no logical reason because you're not who you were at that other place. Right. So
it's a restart. You can trick them essentially. You know what I mean? Not in a bad way, but in a way of just it's start over. Move forward from here. Stand up straight.
Yep. So, I think that was pretty much the gist of that chapter.
You carried us.
But Yep.
Well,
got anything else?
I don't.
I don't either.
We'll read chapter 2 next week.
Yep. So chapter 2 next week is Rule 2, treat yourself like someone you're responsible for helping. So.
All right.